Well, let me finish one. After you convert, then we will have another testing program because we have to verify this work.
Right.
And then with that testing program, we may adjust the feed rate from 12 to 15 or something. But there will be a testing program after this works. I think there's going to be a testing program required even if you stay with polyphosphates.
Sure. So with regard to your report, that it's with the CDPHE now, and they'll comment and return comments, and we may have to, so we have to go through that process of working with them to work through the details of your report. They might want greater detail in one area or another. And then when we have a specification that they'll approve, then we can go ahead and install it. But this approval process, how long does that take? Because I understand it's like 3 months.
Their approval of the report?
Yeah. Well, not that so much as the change, and so that we could actually start implementing this and begin the process of studying the message.
Typically, it's a month and a half.
Okay.
Once you get it takes us a little time to get the plan inspection ready. Once you submit them, they usually review it in a month and a half.
Okay.
If we're submitting a $4 million sewage plan, it may take longer, but it won't take very long.
And the purpose of my question is I just want to give people an idea of what the timeline is.
Yeah.
You know, so there's a realistic
I think they don't require you to have it done for maybe a couple of years. I'm not sure. I don't think you have to do it then. I'm not sure you want to wait, but I don't think regulatory-wise there's going to be a problem meeting their regulatory things. You can have it in operation this fall if you want to, and you can wait till next year if you want to.
Right.
So on the plan and spec, is that something that your firm can provide? Or
Yeah, we do that. In this case, instead of having a whole set, it's going to be one drawing and a short spec. It's not very much of a job.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
so it's not a costly issue to do something.
There's the capital.
15,000, maybe a little short, maybe, but it's included in that 15,000.
And then from an operational standpoint, this would require us using a dry product and mixing it and then putting it into the system. Is that right?
There's two options for feeding dry chemicals. One is on this side what we call a bag feeder. You take a bag, you put it in a loader, and the chemical is metered down through the feeder, dissolved and pumped in to the water. It's dissolved in the feeder, in the package feeder. I got prices on that. It's like, I think I estimated 40, maybe in there $40,000, something like that. The other option is to have a mixing tank and just use most of it, carry the bag up, dump it in, mix it, and at that time you'll have your well off for probably an hour or so. That won't be pumped for an hour, so you mix it till it dissolves, maybe even longer than that, and then just feed liquid chemical. So you meter after it's liquid. In the dry feeder, you meter the dry product.
How often does that have to do to put a bag in? Is that daily, weekly, or monthly?
Right now, it's probably every 2 or 3 days. As you grow, it's going to be more, and as you grow, we might change the feed method too. But if you get twice as many customers, we got twice as much money too. So, but I mean, the technology used kind of depends upon the size. For smaller systems, we like to keep it simple, and for more exotic, bigger systems, you can put more automation in. But for this size system and 50 and 100% growth, the liquid bag dissolver is fine.
Okay.
I noticed that you reviewed 66 samples that I assume were taken from different households.
Yeah, it's your testing program.
Right.
It's to review the testing program that Stevens has done. And if you, let's see if you got the new lock. There's we got I think it's table 3A, there's a statistic, there's a summary of those in there. If I can find it. Yeah, it's table 3A on page 7. That lists all the tests.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
It doesn't list the latest ones. We did that before we got the last half of them.
Okay. But basically, it's over, it's throughout a year?
It's, I think it's 2 years there.
Okay. Oh, first half.
Basically, we took all your records and organized them, and I think the state's probably done that too, organize them to get the 9th percentile.
Mm-hmm.
While doing that, we kind of observe things too, and another item there that what you find when you had the excursions, you had 3 tests that were very high. The rest of them were low. Now that doesn't make a lot of sense unless you say, well, the reason is because those 3 houses had stagnant water.
Yeah.
Because if my house is next to yours, we should get the same reading.
Mm-hmm.
If you have the same club.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, if you have the same plumbing, you should get the same reading.
Mm-hmm.
But the readings were all really fairly low, were markedly different between the high 3 that went into the 90th percentile number and the remainder of the readings.
Right.
So I think putting all this stuff together, Dick Tracy determined that the probable cause was stagnant water.
Right. Well, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So just to make it clear to everyone, this is with treatment. So everyone understands that this is
But
with
The
treatment.
district has treated, maybe before that, but since 2008,
Yeah,
has had used the polyphosphate method. Yes.
right.
Right. You've got a question?
Yeah, I have a question about samples and that I'd like to ask before we get away from it. So, if I'm understanding what you're saying, you were actually reviewing, you didn't take new samples at homes, you were actually reviewing samples that have been done over the last 2 years by the district, is that for the study?
To do a sampling program that's effective, it's got to be a year. So no, my sample, I just been working here a little bit.
No,
I used the samples that were taken over a 2-year period.
Okay,
It wouldn't be valid for me to take one sample,
I understand.
110.
But did you also take new samples as a, I don't know whether baseline is the right word, for
Yes,
now?
pre-chlorine, he took samples at,
At the wellhead, I got that, but not at the house.
That was for treatment purposes, not for
Yeah, I understand.
not for verification purposes.
So no new samples at the various homes and such were a part of this study? Is that,
Right.
okay, thank you.
Michael?
Yeah, just a quick baseline understanding. The water coming out of the well, what's the TDS on that and the pH approximate?
pH very low, it's around 6-8 range, 6-7, I think like that.
On the pH?
Yeah, and the TDS, my memory says around 80,
Okay.
not very high.
And the polyphosphate, how does that change the TDS? Does that raise the TDS
Well, if you feed a half a part, it raises it half a part.
part per million?
Half a part per minute.
And doesn't adjust the pH at all on that? And what about
Well, it's
the
so,
minimal?
you never, there's always minute things, but practically it doesn't change the pH at all.
And the pH, what would you be adjusting it up to? I mean, what does it get adjusted from a, what's a target? What's
For the
target
alkaline?
number? Yeah.
High enough, and it varies with the water. With this water, it looks like 7. I was getting there, so I think around 7.6, something like that is good number. 7.2. I'd have to look at that, but it's a little. It's over 7.
I have a question. Is that okay?
Yes.
About soda ash.
Mm-hmm.
Where does it come from? And what is it? And is it, considered safe? Is it like baking soda? Or I'm just wondering what it is.
Baking soda is sodium bicarbonate. Soda ash is sodium carbonate. And I'm not. It's mineral. It's mined, and then they process it to food grade and take out all the contaminants. And I'm not an expert on how you get soda ash.
And do you know if it filters out? If you had
No, it's dissolved.
Oh, it's dissolved in the water, but let's say you had a over-the-counter filter, like a multi-pure,
Wouldn't affect it,
it wouldn't, it would still come through?
yes,
Okay.
yes.
And it's GRAS,
Pardon?
generally recognized as safe?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's NSF approved.
It says-
Anything you're gonna put in the water system
Well,
has to be.
it's obviously safe because, there's waters that have 200 parts of sodium in it, and we're adding 12 parts. So, and you don't have hardly any now, so,
Okay.
and you eat a lot of salt every day. So, sodium and carbonate is inorganic safe chemicals. So.
Okay, that's my question. Thank you.
I've sent some questions to AJ and Jennifer. If I could hand this out to yourself. These are some questions that I prepared.
Yeah,
And
and
I
we
could
did forward those along just so you know, Dean.
Do I answer right or?
Well, I could pick on a few salient points,
Okay.
and then we could sort of, see where the direction goes. But I'd like to identify the question about this concept of conductivity. And then question number 1 I wrote, where does the CDPHE address chlorine under the concept of conductivity, either ion or electrical? And that may take a little time to explain, but I wanted to address that because corrosion is a way I understand many different systems and treating it. You'd mentioned at the very beginning that this is water that's a solvent and it's got a very low TDS. Okay, so I'd like the conductivity issue to be addressed. Dr. Karlstrom, Dr. Percival, and myself had a discussion on question number 7, which we felt to be salient also, and that is why can't there be a simple switch to the pH adjustment of all studies conducted as stated in the FDA regulations? That too may take a little time, but it's something that we feel is an easier solution than perhaps being perceived at this point.
Well, hold on, let's take these one at a time.
Okay.
And,
Go ahead.
but first of all, with regard to the last one you asked about pH, this is a pH adjustment.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
So,
Then it's being done immediately while the testing is being done.
The testing, anyway, confusing terms.
exactly.
You test water in a lab, take it in 2 days later or 3 days later, you get another result. This testing program I think you're referring to is a verification program that verifies the effectiveness of the corrosion control method and dosage throughout the system. And that can only be done throughout the system. That takes a lot of tests and a lot of time. So that's, I think the state says 18 months, but it takes you at least a year of multiple tests to verify what you're doing.
But at that time, the pH level is being raised.
Oh, yeah.
So we're not testing something else, we're actually running the test.
Can I